Smart strategy, real conversations, bigger margins. This is Chasing the Margin podcast.
Welcome back to Chasing the Margin. Today we have Miss Lindsay Polyak. Polyak. Today we have Miss Lindsay Polyak. Lindsay, thanks for coming on. We appreciate it.
Yeah, glad to be here. Thanks for having me today. What a cool studio.
Yeah. It's a cool little setup. We like it.
I like it. Well done finding this.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
So tell us about you, what you do, a little bit of background.
Sure. I live in Flower Mound, west side of the Metroplex. My husband's an ICU nurse. I am a mom of two and an entrepreneur. I've been in business with my own firm since 2020, the very beginning of the pandemic, which is an interesting time to start a business. We can talk about that if you want.
Yeah, for sure.
I have a business partner, and together we own Tax Credit Collective. And Tax Credit Collective specializes in helping businesses and their CPAs get a hold of specialized government incentives at the federal and state level. So getting money into the pockets of small businesses to help them lower their tax burden. That's
awesome.
Our goal.
And obviously you and I do a lot of work together.
Right.
So I know a lot about what you do and how it can help people. So we're definitely going to cover a lot of that.
Okay.
But like you mentioned, I really want to hear the insight and maybe the why behind why would you start a business in 2020? Did you just want to take on the challenge in what seemed like the most uncertain time possible?
It was the right time for me personally. My husband and I had just had our second born. He was a preemie, little NICU baby. And then when I came back to work at my job as a business development professional, it just really didn't seem like the right fit for me anymore. So I quit my job at the end or very beginning of 2020, started looking at other opportunities, talking to recruiters, thinking about getting another job, because I've always had it in my mind that I should work for the man. I should have a W-2 job stability, benefits, all the things. And it never crossed my mind that I might want to be an entrepreneur. This wasn't in my 20-year, 10-year plan. And made a phone call, talked with the tax attorney who's now my business partner, talked about opportunities that are out there, people I was talking to, and he said, I'm restarting my R&D tax credit practice in Dallas. We've worked together in the past at another firm. Why don't we go into business together in Dallas? Hyper local, focused on research and development tax credits. And I said, I don't know that I really want to own a business or be an entrepreneur. Not sure this is for me. But the more we talked, the more appealing it sounded. And I thought, why not? My husband has a steady job. He's a nurse. He's got the W-2 income. Things are great there. So I could take a risk, right? I had that stability to be able to do that. And so we launched in March of 2020. And my business partner in the month. And my business partner said to me, the only thing I'm concerned about at this point is this virus in China. I'm concerned it might become a problem in the United States. And I said, no, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, it's just like the common cold, no big deal. We don't need to worry about this. And little did I know that it was going to completely change the trajectory of small businesses in America and the world over the next several years. So it was a wild time to go into business. In hindsight, had I known what I know now, would I have done it? I don't know. But it positioned us really well at a time when businesses went hyper local in lockdown, and it allowed us to grow, and I think it helped us in ways. So it worked out okay.
Yeah, I have lots of questions around kind of the ups and downs of COVID and Tax Credit Collective's experience with all that. So we'll dive into it. But was it Joshua that really kind of pushed you over the edge, that convinced you that, hey, Lindsay, you can do this. I've got faith in you. And that was the push that you needed?
Yeah. So Joshua Masad is a tax attorney. He's my business partner. And he convinced me that, we can do this together. We make a good team. We bring different strengths to the table. this is something that as a partnership we could do together. And so I think that really sparked a belief in me that business is done well when you surround yourself with the right partners. And so for us, I think we've been successful because we do bring different strengths to the table. And when one of us is frustrated or struggling, the other is, okay, this is even keel. We're going to get through this. This is the next step. And that's been invaluable for me to have him as a business partner, to go through the last almost 6 years together in business during a pandemic when we were locked down. And then my husband being an ICU nurse, starting the COVID intensive care unit at his hospital, being in the thick of COVID. He moved out of our house for a period of time because we had that little baby and a kindergartner. So things were really topsy-turvy, both personally and professionally, as many people would probably say.
Yeah.
For them.
Yeah. So as far as what you said about Joshua and surrounding yourself with the right people, I think that rings true, and we kind of talk about it a lot on the podcast with kind of culture and finding the right people. And if you look at even some of the huge companies that are here in the U.S., like Elon, I think hired like the first 1,000 people at Tesla. It was like a crazy number.
Heavily involved.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like a very consistent theme, regardless of how big the company is or how small the company is, that whether it be hiring like that or whether it be choosing to go in business with the right people, none of that stuff has anything to do with what type of business you're in or skill set necessarily, but it's just choosing the right people. And I agree with you that if you choose the right people, or if you have the right culture, or if you have the right team together, that by itself puts you so far ahead of the competition that, I mean, it seems like it's not as important, I guess, in the moment, or at least that's been my experience, but it is. Yeah, it is critical, absolutely the most important.
The people that you surround yourself with, the people that you do business with day in and day out, they are your second family, essentially. And you spend as much time with them as you do your family during the waking hours, if not more. And so surrounding yourself with people that are ethical, high morals, the intent of providing excellent service to clients, all of these things, making sure that your value system aligns is critical. And so I think we've done well as entrepreneurs because Joshua and I have a good partnership. And then also, me personally, my partner in life is my husband, Zach. We've been together 20 years. We've been married 17. One of my biggest accomplishments in life, I think, is our marriage. And I'm proud of that. And he is my partner in life. And so when we have these times of work that ebb and flow, and he works a 13-hour shift and he's gone all day, I pick up the slack and I do the children things in addition to business and work. And then we have family that partners with us to help us. And then when I'm busy and I have a lot going on, Zach's picking up the slack for me. So I think the people in our lives that we put ourselves around are critical. I think back to the early days of our firm during the pandemic. I think I got a call from Annie, or I called her. Something happened where we started a conversation, Annie and I, and talking about the fact that Joshua and I had launched this new business and we're, looking for a few clients to start serving and to start adding to our book of business. And Annie said, I think I have some clients that could benefit from the R&D tax credit, but I don't know. Can you help me figure that out? And so we looked at them together. We talked with them. We started looking at the information. And sure enough, a partnership between our firms was born and a way for us to serve clients together. And that partnership has been invaluable to us over the years as we've been in business. And we've learned from that model ways that we can help other CPAs that come to us and say, hey, we don't have the expertise to do this. Can you help some clients with this? There's ways to do that and to help each other and to be partners. So I'm proud of that too.
Yeah, well, your background is kind of filled with relationship and developing those types of things. So let's go back before you started Tax Credit Collective.
Okay.
And a lot of your background is like business development,
yes,
things like that.
Yes.
a couple questions on that. One, why did you even get into business development in the first place? And then two, a lot of the business development that you have in your background is like accounting related or kind of
ancillary.
Yeah, there you go. Ancillary things.
Yeah.
So why those industries too?
So I've always had a heart for small business, entrepreneurs. And right out of college, I worked for a small business. Then I got introduced to the accounting world and learning about how smaller CPA firms and bigger CPA firms too help a lot of small businesses and provide valuable insight and strategy and planning. And so I met a CPA named Wendy Knudsen. And Wendy Knudsen and myself and another CPA went to Southlake in I can't remember the year. I want to say it was about 2009, 2010, somewhere in there. And Wendy started her own firm in Southlake and took a chance on me and said, I want to grow my practice. I need some help with business development. I know tax really well. I can serve clients really well. I can build a team, but can you help me find clients? Mm-hmm. And so went to work with Wendy in Southlake, and she became one of my greatest mentors in business. Just her philosophy for how she serves clients, how she mentors her staff, her people that work with her. They matter to her. Her clients matter to her. I learned a lot from Wendy. And we grew that practice. And I liked being around the accounting world because I saw all the different industries and the clients that walked in the door confused about their numbers, didn't know what to do about their taxes, and left with a solution, right? Whether that be that you've got to decrease your spending, that you've got to let go of a bad customer that's dragging you down, whether you need to get ahead of a tax strategy and look for ways to mitigate taxes. But it was really cool what we did with small clients. And so that really gave me a love for the accounting industry as a whole. And then from there, I springboarded into payroll, HR type services, still helping small business clients. And then I found the tax incentive world through Joshua Masad. He recruited me to a tax incentive firm out of California. And we did some great work there together. And I learned, a particular niche of the tax incentive industry, which is research and development tax credits primarily. And so it's a phenomenal way to help a business that qualifies to claim an incentive that's been around since the 1980s. And if a business qualifies and they're already doing the right stuff and things, they can claim these dollars, and it can really help them in their bottom line. So it's been an interesting journey. I love business development because I love relationships, and I love developing relationships. To your question, those are the key. They are critical in business, and you don't get anywhere without them.
Yeah, I agree with both of those things. Like the relationship side of the business and getting to meet people and like hear their story. I was just talking with somebody yesterday who's probably going to come on as a client of our firm, and just hearing his story, how he started the business 15 years ago, and his daughter works with him now, and now they're in partnership together. And, it's so neat to see all that. And then the other thing that you mentioned with, we work with these small to medium-sized businesses, and normally we either meet with the owner or we meet with like their CFO. Yeah, one of the high-level people.
C-suite.
Yeah, C-suite, exactly. And they have like real tangible things that they can take away from those meetings. And you can calculate and see the dollars and the impact. And it's
exciting.
Exactly.
Right?
It's exciting.
Yeah.
So I totally relate to that. So let's jump into Tax Credit Collective now and this crazy topsy-turvy journey that you guys went on. So you started during COVID. Basically, you waited till COVID started, and then you guys decided to start, is what it sounds like.
It happened at the same time, I would say. We started the business, and COVID came right around the same time. Crazy timing. Our focus is and has always been the research and development tax credit.
Yeah. So the two things that I want to talk about are the R&D stuff, and then also the ERC stuff.
Okay.
I really want to talk about the ERC stuff because that was that's for us has been a crazy
the wild,
ride.
Wild West.
Yeah.
It is how I describe the employee retention credit. It has been the wild, Wild West for the past 4 years.
So let's talk about that first.
Cool.
How was that when that came out in the law? How was that trying to understand what that was, how to explain it to people? Because for us, it was like, well, this is what we think it means, but the government doesn't even know what it means either.
Yeah, so the law was passed with this tax credit, and we started reading it. A CPA friend texted it to me. He said, hey, look at this bill, late one night. He was up reading it, and I said, what is this? American Rescue Plan, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I read it, and I thought, this is a refundable tax credit. Coming from the R&D world, when we talk about R&D tax credits, they're non-refundable. You have to have a tax liability situation in order to utilize them.
Mm-hmm.
So that creates a very small subset of businesses. And then you look at what qualifies under a 4-part test, and then it gets way smaller.
Mm-hmm.
But we started reading the law, and this is a refundable credit. This is based on payroll, which almost all businesses, in the United States have W-2 employees.
Yep.
And then it's based on businesses who had a reduction in gross receipts during the pandemic, which is, 65-70% of businesses probably had some sort of reduction of gross receipts for various reasons. And then we start looking at, remember the sections of the code that talked about a more than nominal impact due to shelter-in-place mandates, shutdowns, and that's where the gray area. That's where it got so nebulous, where we're all trying to figure out, okay, if a supplier did this and then you couldn't get access to this, does this qualify? And trying to interpret this and having conversations with attorneys and CPAs in this space, trying to understand the law, and then followed the memorandums, right? The memos where they started giving advice and some conflicting information. Mm-hmm. It was crazy trying to figure this out and decide, do we want to get in this or not? Is this for us or not? And we thought, yes, it is, because we're going to take the same measured approach that we do with the R&D credit from a qualification standpoint, looking at this through the lens of, what does the law say? Do I qualify? And we took a very conservative approach through the years. Could we have been more liberal in our approach? Lots of people were. There were lots of shops that cropped up out of nowhere just to do employee retention credit work that took this really liberal lens of what qualified. And we just didn't feel comfortable doing that because we were always planning on staying in business and doing what we got in business to do. So we wanted to stay true to ourselves and our values and informed consent. This is our mantra as a firm, informed consent. What does the law say? How do you fit within the bounds of the law? Here's what we think. Now you as a taxpayer need to decide, is this a position you want to put yourself in or not?
Yeah. Well, I think that like you guys were already doing, like you said, tax credits. That's what the plan was in general.
All along.
Exactly.
Right.
And then this just kind of fell in and kind of matched some of what you were doing.
Right.
But then there were these other firms that were just, people started businesses only to do this.
And now they're gone.
Exactly. And now they're gone. And a lot of them closed because they knew what they were doing was way too liberal. And that's a generous way of putting it.
Yeah.
And they just closed shop.
And now I'm getting the phone calls. I got one last week from a woman who got her checks from the IRS 2 years ago. Now they're clawing them back. Mm-hmm. She told me the basis on which they claimed them. She never qualified, shouldn't have done it. And now the firm that helped her is gone.
Yeah. So how does that work for you guys? Are you just helping best you can?
We help when we can. We try to do what we can, but it is incredibly sad to see business owners who were either taken advantage of or who willingly put themselves in positions where they knew they didn't qualify, or maybe someone just convinced them. A great salesperson convinced them that there's free money and you may as well grab it, which is the worst advice of all, I think.
Yeah. So one of my questions on here that I'm really curious about, because you guys are very similar to us in a sense of like you have the normal workload, which, for us is tax returns, for you guys is various tax credits.
Right.
And then they have these things come out such as the ERC, which not only do you have to do normal workload, but now you have this crazy amount of increased workload.
Yeah.
How do you handle the staffing ups and downs of that? Because staffing is always challenging in the first place.
Right.
And then you go from like 100% capacity to like 150% capacity, but it's a temporary thing. So how do you decide when to hire, who you're going to pay, who you're not going to pay? It's such a challenging thing.
We sloughed our way through it. We dealt with our typical work. We added on the ERC work. We as a firm collectively worked way more hours than we ever normally do.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we all shared in the benefits financially, providing nice bonuses to our employees to thank them for their work.
Yep.
I can remember days in 2021 and 2022 when I would have 15 Zoom meetings in a day just to talk with business owners or CPAs about situations, trying to figure out if they qualified for the ERC.
Mm-hmm.
And I turned hundreds of people away because they just didn't qualify, unfortunately. I hope they didn't go find someone else to do it for them, but I don't know. We worked really hard. We worked long hours. And then generally speaking, with our regular work that does coincide with tax seasonality, just like you,
mm-hmm.
The work that we do is done in advance of your tax preparation and filing. So we're trying to get it done year over year before the deadline and try to meet your internal deadlines of, hey, can you please get this to us 15 days before the filing or a month before, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
But then we have downtimes during a typical year because of the way our work goes. So we give our staff off 2 or 3 weeks at Christmas, New Year's. It's a really low season, downtime. It's a great time to take some time off.
Yeah.
And we try to take advantage of that as a practice.
Yeah. So it sounds like it's just kind of an honest conversation with the team that says, hey, guys, it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
We're going to have to push through it together. But the bottom line is it'll be worth it to you. We'll all take a breather at some point.
Right.
And you just got to work together as a team.
Yeah, we had a conversation recently about a potential opportunity coming up next year for a big study that's going to mean dozens of man hours, and it's going to be more than a lot of the work that we do. And so, we put that bug in their ear that we may have this opportunity. We need you to start thinking about now what resources we're going to need to get this particular thing done. Are we going to need to staff up a bit more for this? Do we even want this work? How is this going to work for us? So we, really trying to partner with our staff. We're a small firm. We're small, but we're nimble and we're mighty, and so we can pivot, and we can make these decisions, I think, because of our size.
Yeah. I think it's always an interesting conversation to have with the partners within a firm, because part of your responsibility, and specifically your responsibility in the business development side of the business, is to bring in that work. But sometimes, yeah, exactly. That's my point. Is sometimes the work is just not a good fit,
right? Or
it's just you just don't have the team to serve the client the way the client needs to be served,
or wants to be served,
and you just have to make the tough decision to say, "Hey,
we're not it." Yeah, and I think that's really critical in business development, to know your team's capabilities and the type of work you want, and stay true to your values as a practice. It's easy to get away from that because you're chasing the money, not just chasing the margin, right? So to speak. But, let's look for the right business. Let's look for the things that we want to do that are meaningful to us, that are profitable, right? And where we can genuinely partner with the client to move the needle and make a difference for them. There's work, we talk about the R&D credit being a non-refundable. There's work we could chase and maybe convince people to chase this credit and to capture it when they're in losses, and because you can carry it forward up to 20 years. That's not typically meaningful for a business, just to add to their losses. So we want to find real dollars that are meaningful to them that tax year typically, to make a difference. So chasing the right work is important, and keeping that front of mind when you have conversations with CFOs and business owners is critical, because you can you can always look for more work, and then you can add more staff, but is it the right work? Is it good work? Is it what you want to do?
Yeah. Well, you've mentioned it a couple times, and this is kind of what you're talking about. And we haven't had anybody talk about this on the podcast yet, which is kind of like going through your client list and deciding, like, of current clients or maybe clients that could be potential clients, kind of saying, hey, you're no longer a good fit for us, or we're not a good fit for you. Do you guys have a process internally at Tax Credit Collective where you kind of go through maybe on an annual basis or every couple years or something where you just kind of analyze your client list and say, hey, these people are just no longer good clients for us? And how does that look?
That's a good question. I wouldn't say that we internally go through and look for clients to cut, because we try to be intentional at the onset of the relationship before we bring them on, to vet them out and make sure that we're the right fit and that we can meet their expectations and they can meet ours. I feel like we do a very good job of that in the beginning of engagements, so that we don't have to sit down and have these difficult conversations of, yeah, we need to break up. Right?
Yeah.
For businesses that are looking for a way to manage that and to go through that process, there's a good book written by Mike Michalowicz called The Pumpkin Plan.
Okay.
Talks about farmers that grow colossal pumpkins and how they go through the process of getting rid of the smaller pumpkins that take away from the sun, the nutrients, the water, and the time away from the one giant colossal pumpkin that they're trying to grow and show off. And so it creates a practical methodology of looking at your clients and ranking them in different ways and determining who's your top 20%, who's your bottom 10 or 20%, and then what do we need to do about these down here, and then how do we need to really nurture these up here. So it's a good book I'd recommend.
Yeah, that's one of the most challenging things to me in any service-based business probably, is you always want to grow and grow and grow, and then you build development or you build relationship with these clients, and you never want to, like you said, break up with these people.
Right.
But at the end of the day, the bottom 10%, you're probably not serving them well. They're not a good fit for you anymore.
Right.
And sometimes you got to make those tough calls where it's like, hey, you're keeping us from growing as a firm. We're not servicing you the way that you need to be serviced.
Nobody's happy.
Yeah, nobody's happy.
Right.
And you just got to make that call and cut.
I've had to do that in the past, and not necessarily here, but it's a real relief when you go through that process and you do say goodbye, especially if you can point them another direction and say, listen, we're probably not the best fit for you anymore. However, have you considered these three practices or these three, just to give them an idea of where to go? So it's something that businesses have to do from time to time, and I think it's healthy to prune. We work with our clients on a year-over-year basis, and so every year when we finish a study for them, our goal is, if we can, to meet with them, to go over the study with them, to talk about the process, to figure out what went well, to sort of do a postmortem. What didn't go well? What would they like to see us improve? And, looking ahead, what we need to get ahead of next year in terms of maybe tax law changes, documentation requirements, things of that nature. And so, sort of setting those expectations going forward for the next year can be helpful as well.
Yeah. So let's talk about the main driving source of the business, and sounds like maybe one of the main things you guys started, which is the R&D tax credit. So I want you to explain to us kind of in general what it is, and then also give us a little insight on why it's been so hectic in the tax field over the last, let's say, like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, for sure. So the research and development tax credit, like I said, is a non-refundable tax credit. It's a federal credit. I believe there's 37 states that have coinciding state-level credits that generally follow the rules of the federal credit with some deviations. This credit was passed into law in 1981 by Ronald Reagan. It was designed at the time to incentivize profitable businesses in the United States in the automotive industry to increase their research, creativity, and innovation to compete against Japanese automakers. And so it came to America in that form, and over the years has been utilized by other manufacturing niches. And there's a place for architecture, engineering, software development, automation. There's different industries that can take advantage of the credit, and it's not limited to any one or subset of industries, but rather it's a credit that we look at through a lens of two different pillars. One is activities. Does the business do the right activities, or as we say, stuff in things that qualify them to claim the credit? And then expenditures. Are they spending the right dollars that are used to compute the credit, to generate the credit? So from an activity lens, there's a 4-part test from Section 41 of the tax code. And that 4-part test is an and test. You have to meet each part of the 4-part test. And so the business has to be making or seeking to make a component that they intend to sell, lease, or license. And that item can be a product, a process, a formula, an invention, a software, or a technique. Any of those 6 things could qualify. When they're making that item, they either need to be making or improving qualitative improvements. So functionality, performance, speed, shelf stability, genuine qualitative improvements, not necessarily, is it pretty? Can I sell this? Have I changed the color of the car from red to blue? But genuine performance-based aspects. Next, if they're making or improving a product, process, formula, invention, software, or technique, there has to be some element of uncertainty that showed up in the production of that item. And the uncertainty can present itself in 3 different ways. Can we make this or improve this? How are we going to make this or improve this? And the third, which we most often focused on with the IRS, is what is this going to look like when we're done, right? We had this idea, but what is this product or software actually going to look like when we finish it? We don't know. And so the next test is that in order to eliminate that uncertainty, that business had to go through a process of experimentation to root that out. The process of experimentation could be as complex as a scientific method. It could be as simple as trial and error. It just has to be more than throwing noodles at a wall and hoping they stick, so to speak.
Yeah.
The process of experimentation, you have alpha testing and beta testing in the software development space. You have designers going through multiple red lines in engineering. Architects go through multiple iterations of blueprints. Sometimes you'll run through simulations to try different things out. You may develop some sort of test pilot to test out a scenario. But there has to be a genuine process of experimentation. And fourth, last but certainly not least, and where a lot of businesses sort of fall off the wagon in their qualification, is that the process of experimentation itself has to be rooted in a hard science, such as biology, chemistry, food science, engineering, computer science. It's not a soft science like psychology. How do my customers feel? Is this space beautiful? Can I sell this? Is this marketable? It's
Gotcha.
a hard science. And so if you tick all of those 4 boxes in the activity side of things, then we look at the other lens, which is expenditures. Under Section 174, what are the things that you spend money on that go into creating a credit? Box 1, W-2 wages, payroll, right? Biggest expense in most businesses, except for manufacturing, is payroll. Contractors that are involved in the process of experimentation. There's a limitation on what you can claim for contractors. Why? Because the United States wants to incentivize businesses to have W-2 employees, right? And then last would be materials that are used or consumed in the process of experimentation. That's particularly relevant in manufacturing, where you may go through a first run of an item and use up or waste materials. So these expenses go in to generate a credit. And a tax credit, as we know, is much more effective and helpful than a tax deduction. A tax credit is a dollar for dollar offset of tax. And so there's a federal credit. As I mentioned, there's a state credit in many states. And so if a business is going through these processes, another way to look at this is if a business has nerds on the payroll, this is what I look for. Do they have engineers? Do they have architects, scientists, technicians, CAD draftsmen, machinists? All of these types of job titles can indicate to me that there may be an opportunity for them to claim this particular credit.
All right, good. We'll cut that and let everybody know that those 5 or 6 things that you mentioned, Lindsay says are nerds. So
Nerds rule the world.
well, you gave us the technical side, but let's dive into it with an example, because I think a lot of people relate to it when they can see it in like a story form.
Sure.
So, Lindsay, I'm a business owner. I'm not a CPA. We're going to go with my other passion, which is running. So
Okay.
you tell me whether I apply or whether the tax credit applies to me or not.
For running?
Well, so let me explain. I have a business
Okay.
and I create this new running shoe, which is going to help you run faster. It's going to help your feet not get blisters. It's going to help you all around with running in general. I don't know anything about taxes. As all of my clients tell me, I don't want to know anything about taxes, Lindsay. That's
Fair.
your job.
That's fair.
So what do you need to know as to whether I can use the tax credit effectively or not?
So the first thing I'm going to ask you is, are you profitable in paying taxes? Or are you in losses?
All right.
It's
I make
important.
$500,000 a year.
Okay.
Okay.
That you take home.
That I take home.
Okay. Do you have people here in the U.S. on U.S. soil that have helped you design this shoe?
Yep. I have 3 employees that work here in the DFW Metroplex on my shoe.
Okay. And they are helping you come up with functional designs, specifications that you're using to develop some sort of new technology, not new to the world, but new to you.
Well, what does functional mean, Lindsay? You're using these big words and all I do is create shoes. So
Okay.
I need you to explain it simpler.
Is the foam more dense in some way? Does it create more bounce in some way? Are you just making a purple shoe red, or are you making it fit better, have less wear and tear on asphalt? Are there things that you're doing that make the shoe perform better?
Well, my friend Justin is the whole reason that we started this. And he says that these shoes that are half an inch thick make you run slower. So we've decided to make a new shoe that's thinner, that we've tested to see if that makes athletes run faster. And based off all this stuff that Justin did, because he's the smart guy in our partnership, he says that based off his testing, the shoe makes people run a minute faster on their mile.
So from your hypothetical, I would say it's probably worth delving into some more. When we're talking to business owners, if they only have 3 employees, we're talking about how much they're paying them, what they're doing, how much time they're spending on this process. My guess is that with just 3 employees, even if all of their time was spent on this effort, we're not going to generate a whole lot in tax credits, because this credit is generated at about 8 cents on the dollar of money we're spending. But you're also probably going through foam, building materials.
Yep.
Hopefully it's being constructed here in the United States. I would want to look more into, are you paying your friend Justin? What kind of contracts do you have with him? This gets very nuanced, right?
Yeah.
If you're using him as a consultant, do you own the intellectual property? How is this being paid for? So it's more than just a surface look, but it's what's being spent, who's doing the work, what do the contracts lay out as? And these are the sort of conversations we start having. From a manufacturing perspective, we're probably talking with businesses that are at least $20 million in gross receipts, where it makes sense.
Yep.
From a white-collar consulting business like an architecture or engineering firm, we're generally talking with those folks when they're spending about $5 million. Their gross receipts are $5 million and up, right? And a lot of that gets funneled into payroll.
Yeah.
So is there an opportunity for startups? Absolutely. And you can claim that R&D credit and use it to offset payroll taxes.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the first things we start delving into is, do you qualify? How much is there? And is the juice worth the squeeze? Because this is going to take some time on not just our part, but their part as well. And I want to make sure that we're getting them enough in return, that they're not spending so much of their time doing this that they couldn't do something else and make more money.
Yeah.
So really try to be thoughtful in these discussions.
Yeah, I think both of those numbers are really helpful for anybody that's listening, because that kind of gives them a general idea. Okay, if I'm a manufacturer that's making $200,000 in gross receipts, maybe it's not the right time.
No.
But down the road, you said 20 million for manufacturers, and then like 5 million around for those kind of professional services.
Yeah. Does that mean that we shouldn't talk about it before then? Absolutely not. Like we should have the conversation early and often, right? Just like voting. We should have the conversation so that a business owner gets their arms around, what are the things that I can do that can generate this credit? What do I need to do in terms of maybe documentation, how my vendor relationships are set up, so that I can most effectively claim this credit down the road. It is never a waste of my time to meet somebody and have a quick conversation to educate them about this, because those conversations turn around in a few years and voila, there may be an opportunity for both of us to work together.
Yeah, I think that we're so closely related in what we do and how we kind of work, that's a conversation that's always kind of interesting to have, and you have to understand business in general enough to know, like you said, juice is worth the squeeze, because we get asked by clients all the time, like, well, can we do this? Well, yeah, you can, but it's going to cost you more of my time than it's even going to save you on the tax side.
So why would you go through that administratively?
Yeah. And a lot of times, we've had clients where you guys have had conversations with them, and it's kind of on the borderline. And the R&D tax credit takes a lot of work on everybody's part.
Yes, there's a lift. We try to minimize it for the client as much as we can, but we're still going to have interviews, conversations, maybe questionnaires. We're going to ask for documentation. We want to make sure that it is buttoned up so that when we present this position to the IRS, that we can defend it, because that's part of our service from soup to nuts, not just do you qualify and how much is there, but on the back end of audit defense and appeals. Being able to successfully defend a client is critical, but also not putting them in a position in the first place that's likely to trigger an audit is also critical, because no client wants to go through an audit. It's just a bad experience all around.
They get scared of that word.
It is, and it's a great way to end the relationship. And so, we want to be mindful of that and of everybody's time at the onset.
Yeah. So when we were talking before the podcast, we were talking about, different partnerships that you've gone throughout your lifetime, and different opportunities that either have helped you historically or maybe some things that you might be considering in the future. So kind of tell me maybe some of the most important things that have happened historically, and are you always going to stay in the tax credit field, or do you think you'll venture into other areas now that you've jumped into the entrepreneurial pond?
Yeah, so partnerships for us have historically made the most sense when we can talk with people who have an impact on finances at a business. So what does that look like? CPAs. It's one of the closest relationships a business owner has with their finances is their CPA. Maybe their outsourced bookkeeper, if they outsource that separately from their CPA firm. A lot of small to mid-sized businesses have fractional CFOs, and those are important relationships to have. Those can provide really meaningful insight into a business, and we have quite a few relationships in that space. Bankers get involved, and they look at balance sheets and P&Ls and decide whether you can borrow money, and so bankers often sense opportunities that are out there. So those are, I would say, are the top four. We try to put ourselves in positions where we can meet those people and be of service to them. As far as getting out of the tax incentive space, we would love to do something else, something fun. And we're looking at another opportunity right now. Hopefully it comes to fruition, knock on wood. And if it does, maybe I can come back and we can talk about that. But we'll see.
Yeah, it'll be a different conversation for sure.
Altogether.
So is in terms of relationships with kind of those trusted referral sources, I guess we'll call it that for now. Myself as a CPA, I get blasted with emails like crazy by all kinds of people.
Okay.
And a lot of times I'm just like, yep,
Delete.
that's spam.
Delete. Yeah.
So how do you make that connection with either a CPA or a banker or just somebody that's meaningful, because you know that you can help their clients
Right.
and you can make a difference and make them look good, but they don't have time for you, Lindsay. They get sent so many emails by people just like you. How do you make yourself sound different?
So how do you want me to sound different is what I want to know.
Yeah, you're asking me the
I
question
want to
now.
know because so obviously I can't get in your inbox, right?
Yeah.
No time for that.
Yeah.
Can I call you?
Call is definitely better. So,
Is it?
oh, well, call is, let's say not call. Let's take a step back first, because I think that one of the things that in today's environment, like everybody just does email.
Right.
Like it's so much easier to do things virtual.
The lowest hanging.
Yeah, it's the lowest hanging fruit. And even today,
Easiest.
it is. It's the easiest. Like even today, like when clients want to meet with me, I try really hard to meet with them in person. And, you know, we're in DFW, so some of our clients are all over, and that's not possible. But to me, if you want to have any type of possibility with connecting with me, it needs to be in person. Because if I can see you, if I can sit down and have a meal with you or just interact with you, then that's where I'll listen. And that's where I'll kind of think to myself, oh, well, maybe Lindsay does have some good insight for like these 5 clients that I work with. But email is just, that's not it.
It's the bottom of the barrel, right?
It is.
Nobody's reading emails anymore, I feel like.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think it's the path of least resistance, right? It's just what's perceived to be the easiest thing. Picking up the phone is harder. You're more likely to face rejection. But a good phone call goes a long way. I like a good pop-in. Popping in somebody's office.
Yeah.
My husband will say, why are you going to just offices of people you've never met? Well, how am I ever going to meet them if I don't go in there?
Yeah.
Right? I do like a good old-fashioned pop-in. That could be taken in, 2 different ways, though. If you're busy and you're trying to meet a deadline, I've got to be cognizant of that, right? It's not the best time to walk in on October 13th.
Yeah. So it sounds like, one, you need to do your research to figure out when you're trying to reach out to those people, is there anything that's going to cause them additional stress, such as a deadline,
Right.
before you try to just go show up at somebody's door. But then 2, you just got to be okay with, hey, rejection.
Yeah, you do. I love a Friday afternoon phone call at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. I do, because gatekeepers are often gone. They're not screening calls as well. And I think you're more likely to get a business owner on the phone, or even a CFO. Friday at 4 o'clock, you'd be surprised how many people are still working when everyone's gone. Or if you're going to send an email, send it late at night. I know it's not perceived as professional, but business owners and C-suite people, they're reading their emails late. And if it's short, succinct, and to the point, you may be likely for someone to read it.
Yeah. I mean,
take it or leave it, but these are things that I've learned in business development.
I agree. Like sometimes the only time I can get to my email is 7 o'clock at night, because I just don't have time during the day.
Yeah, you're in the work. You're in the weeds.
Yeah. So, because this doesn't apply to just the tax credit field. When you're trying to find those people where you can go show up randomly at their office, what do you do to research that?
First, I want to know, are they in my ideal client profile, my ICP, right? there's particular size, employee headcount, right?
Mm-hmm.
What are they making? What are they doing? Where are they at? I'm stalking their LinkedIn. I'm stalking their social media. I'm trying to figure out where they went to school and what they're into. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little bit of a creeper, and that's just part of the job in business development and I'll tell them when I call them, my cyber stalking revealed that X, and they usually laugh,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because we all do it in sales and business development.
Yeah.
But you've got to do a little bit of research before you go.
Yeah. Well, rejection is one of the things that scares people the most in business. And it sounds like that doesn't really scare you as much.
I don't like being rejected. I don't like being told no. I get told no a lot, though.
Yeah.
And other than just, feeling a little bit of a hit, there's just nothing. It doesn't do anything to you. It's not going to hurt you any.
Yeah.
You just kind of get used to it,
Yeah.
But you've got to build up that muscle, and that takes time.
Yeah. Well, is there anything in business that does scare you?
Is there anything in business that does scare me? At the end of the day, we have to follow the law. And I never want to put our firm in a position where we're not doing that. I never want to put our firm in a position where we're not serving our clients well. And I think that is very important to me, that we're always looking at what is the right thing to do. Are we doing this to the best of our abilities? And my business partner and I are on the same page about that. Just taking a serious look at how we do things.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I couldn't relate to that statement enough. Like, a lot of times that question is asked in major decisions with what we do, where it comes down to, is this going to give us too much exposure and put us too much at risk? And if so, then we just got to be transparent and say, hey, we can't do this. Like, this is just too much. Let's wrap up with a couple more questions. One of them is just in general, and this may be a yes or no thing. You may say no, and then we'll just move on. But AI is always a big topic here on the podcast because
it should be.
Yeah, it's a big topic everywhere.
It is.
So is AI impacting you guys? Does it help you with what you do in the tax credit side? Does it help you in other areas of business? Does it have any impact?
I think it will start to have more of an impact. I get contacted all the time by software companies that say, tax credits really don't need a personal touch anymore. We can just run it through a data-driven algorithm and determine what's there. And that is a little bit, I have a little bit of trepidation about that, because at the end of the day, AI is wrong sometimes. And it creates references to its own material that often doesn't even exist in reality. And I think you have to be very careful with that. From a client confidentiality requirement, we can't be feeding client details into certain things. So, we are very conservative when it comes to that and what we will and will not share. It's just how things have to be.
Yeah.
Do you disagree?
No, I mean, I agree completely. I'm like a mixed bag of emotions when it comes to AI. Like, on the first thing you said, it's like sometimes I feel like, oh, AI is going to do all this great stuff like really soon.
Yeah.
But then you have like, output something that it's like, this doesn't even logically make sense. And then it's back to, it's another 10, 15 years down the road before it's going to be to a place where we can even use it effectively.
Right.
And then that's one of the hottest topics, what you mentioned about confidentiality in our field too.
Yeah.
Like, we're part of lots of forums with CPAs, and obviously they all talk about this because everybody wants to improve their technology.
Of course.
And that's
and your
one
efficiencies.
and our efficiencies. And that's one of the things that they all say is like, well, can we even do this from a confidentiality perspective? Because there's laws behind this.
Disclosure laws, right? What we can and can't disclose, and to whom. And I think until we get clarity from the government, from the IRS on this, we need to be very cautious
Yeah.
in our industry.
The government's not necessarily known for moving quickly on these types of issues.
Yeah, and I think that's one of our biggest frustrations. One of our biggest external frustrations in our business is that what we do for our clients is wholly reliant upon processing at the IRS.
Mm.
And as you know, and you mentioned early on in this podcast, over the past several years, there have been so many disruptions to that at the Internal Revenue Service, from the ERC moratorium in 2023, and then pauses in processing and random letters out of nowhere that make no sense to clients. It is very hard to manage expectations. This is a tangent, I'm sorry, but it's hard to manage client expectations, and it's hard to stay on an even keel with processes when you can't control what goes on externally there. So
yeah, I
it's
agree.
just part of it.
Well, let's get to know Lindsay personally a little bit more, since we've talked business this whole time.
Sure.
So you do things outside of business.
Do I?
I assume you do things outside of business.
Man, I need a hobby. I'd love some suggestions. We have 2 boys, 13 and 6. So big age gap. 13-year-old's an athlete, makes very good grades, very serious. He has a very, very hectic schedule. I find myself constantly driving him to his things. My 6-year-old is your typical kindergartner, very goofy, doesn't want to go to school, just wants to be home with mom, little COVID baby. But he just finished preschool, and they were working with the kids on knowing their mommy's phone numbers. And they said, we're going to start working on that this week. And he said, I know my mommy's phone number. And he just rattled it off. And the teacher said, how did you know that number already? And he says, I hear her leave voicemails for her clients all the time in the car when she's driving me. Yeah, they're listening. I spend a lot of time driving, man. So listening to podcasts, listening to books in the car, calling clients.
Yep.
A lot of times I'll have a smile and dial list that I will call people in the car.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the best times to do it for me.
Yeah. Well, family's important then. So what do you do with your family?
A lot of sports events, basketball, football.
Any travel?
Yeah, we like to travel. My favorite place in the world is Northwest Florida beaches. I grew up in Pensacola, Florida.
Yep.
So we just got back from a weekend beach trip there to Pensacola Beach. It's beautiful if you haven't been. I think I was there in July when we were talking.
I've taken a call with you on the beach.
Yeah. You'll find me outside on the water as much as possible. Love to get outside and be on the water.
Yeah, awesome. So actually outside on the beach, not just in the condo.
Right, yes.
Yeah.
Actually in the water and doing all the things, having a good time. But yeah, I love to work. I love to be productive. I now enjoy being an entrepreneur, right? It's sort of come full circle. It's a lot of fun. It's challenging. It's rewarding. Relationships are the real deal, and partnerships, I think, are the secret sauce for me in life. Yeah.
Well, then, as far as the future goes, do you think entrepreneurship is the only future ahead of you at this point?
Yeah, I think I'm unemployable, man. I don't think anyone would hire me at this point.
Yeah.
I'm pretty independent-minded, and I think this is the space I want to stay in. It's the entrepreneurial world.
Yeah. It's hard for me to even see any of our guests that come on, to see them working for somebody. It's just hard to picture it.
Who wants to do that after having the freedom and the roller coasters, and the ups and downs, and all the things? And there's a lot of benefits and upside to being your own boss and having your own team. It's cool, and then you get to help other people, your staff, your employees. You get to provide a great opportunity for them and a great place to work, and it's fun. I'm glad we took the leap and we did it.
Yeah. And then the last question that we always like to wrap up with is, if there's somebody who's either considering getting into entrepreneurship, somebody who just started, or somebody who's been along the journey for a long time, what's the best advice that you could give them as an entrepreneur?
That's a big question. Do your research. Do a good SWOT analysis, right? Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. Figure out what's out there. I'm a big spreadsheeter. I think anything in life can be solved with a great spreadsheet. And, once you've done that to death or not, find yourself a good partner or good partnerships. I know a lot of entrepreneurs that have gone off and done it themselves and been wildly successful and happy. But if you can find a partner in business, I think it's worth its weight in gold. It'll help you get farther faster from a lot of different aspects.
Awesome. Great advice, Lindsay. Thanks so much for coming on. It was
Enjoyed
great.
it.